Jr., and the many distinguished guests for joining us here today. It's a great honor. Earlier this week, I had the tremendous privilege to join Isaac.
Trump signing a proclamation to honor Martin Luther King Day. It is a day moment filled with irony, given the comments that some viewed as racist that the president reportedly made about African countries and those who may immigrate to this country. Let's listen.
The new law expands the area protected and historic sites for the future. Generations of Americans are becoming so important. And this is a great honor for us and a great honor to Dr. King. Today we gather in the White House to honor the memory of a great American hero, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On January 15th, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He would go on to change the course of human history. As a young man, Dr. King decided to follow the calling of his father and grandfather to become a Christian pastor. He would later write that it was quite easy for me to think of a God of love, mainly because I grew up in a family where love was central. That is what Reverend King preached all of his life: love. Love for each other, for neighbors, and for our fellow Americans. Dr. King's faith and his love for humanity led him and so many other heroes to courageously stand up for civil rights of African Americans. Through his bravery and sacrifice, Dr. King opened the eyes and lifted the conscience of our nation. He stirred the hearts of our people to recognize the dignity written in every human soul. Today we celebrate Dr. King for standing up for the self-evident truth Americans hold so dear, that no matter what the color of our skin or the place of our birth, we are all created equal by God. This April we will mark a half-century since Reverend King was so cruelly taken from us by an assassin's bullet. But while Dr. King is no longer with us, his words and his vision only grow stronger through time. Today we mourn his loss, we celebrate his legacy, and we pledge to fight for his dream of equality, freedom, justice, and peace. I will now sign the proclamation making January 15th, 2018, the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday, and encourage all Americans to observe this day with acts of civic work and community service in honor of Dr. King's extraordinary life, and it was extraordinary indeed, and his great legacy. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America. And with that, I'd like to ask a great friend of mine, Secretary Carson, for remarks. Then we're going to be signing the very important proclamation. Thank you very much. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here today, celebrating this solemn occasion. And I thank you for signing legislation to designate the birthplace, church, and tomb of Dr. Martin Luther King as a National Historic Park. His monumental struggle for civil rights earned these places in his life, faith, and death the same honor as Mount Vernon and that famous humble log cabin in Illinois. This April, we will observe the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. I remember so vividly that day as a high school student in Detroit. Far from silencing his dream, death wrought him immortal in the American heart. His message of equality, justice, and the common dignity of man resounds today, urgently needed to heal the divisions of our age. Today we honor the legacy of the man who marched on Washington, for jobs and freedom, achieving both for millions of Americans of all races and backgrounds. But his legacy also calls us to remember where these ideas, equality, freedom, liberty, get their power. Our good efforts alone are not enough to lend them meaning. For by what shall I be called equal to another man? It cannot be by wealth, for there will always be one richer than me. It cannot be by strength, for there will always be one stronger than me. It cannot be by success or happiness or beauty or any other pieces of the human condition which are distributed through providence. So perhaps providence alone is the answer. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With these familiar words, our Declaration of Independence recognizes the true author of our common dignity, one that is beyond every human law and institution. If we forget this source of our fundamental equality, then our fight to recognize it in our society will never be fulfilled. This is a truth that Dr. King carried with him from Selma to Montgomery, from a pulpit in Atlanta to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, from a cell in Birmingham to the entire world. This year, we will not remember his slaying as the ending, but as a beginning, as a moment when his truth rose stronger than hatred and his cause larger than death, as a moment when he called to new life with his Creator, before whom all men shall one day stand in equal rank, bearing with them no riches but the content of their character. If we keep this conviction at the center of our every word and action, if we look upon our countrymen as brothers with a shared home and a common destination, then instead of meaningless words rolling off of our tongue, we will truly create one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to have a word from Pastor Isaac Newton Ferris, the nephew of Dr. Martin Luther King.
President Trump, Vice President Pence, and to all assembled here. If my uncle were here today, the first thing he would say is, what are we or what are you doing for others? And that's why it was so important that my aunt Coretta Scott King returned to the Congress now about 10 years ago and asked that the meaning of the holiday be changed. We did not want the King holiday just to be a day of hero worship. As his nephew, I certainly think that he was one of the greatest Americans that we've produced. But it should not be a day of hero worship. And that's why the Congress agreed with my aunt and also made it a day of service. So that we, on that day, as a matter of fact, at the King Center, we refer to it as a day on, not a day off. It's not a day to hang out in the park or pull out the barbecue grill. It's a day to do something to help someone else. And that can be as simple as delivering someone's trash or picking up the newspaper for that elderly person who can't get to the end of the driveway. Bottom line, you're doing something that benefits someone other than yourself. That's the proper way to remember my uncle and the proper way to celebrate the King holiday. So, President Trump, thank you for taking the time to acknowledge this day. Thank you for remembering that we're all Americans, and on this day we should be united in love for all Americans. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
This is a great, an important day, Martin Luther King Jr. Federal holiday 2018 by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Congratulations to him and to everybody. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Statement yesterday.
Mr. President, did you refer to African nations? You sort of shit all over the
Mr. President, are you a racist? Mr. President, will you respond to these serious questions about your statement, sir?
No, Mr. President,
You're talking to the President, not you, sir. Mr. President, are you a racist?
President Trump concluding that ceremony, proclaiming Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, not taking any questions. You may not have been able to quite hear all the questions being shouted, but there were variations of asking the president's response or whether there might be an apology to the words he used in a meeting with bipartisan senators about immigration yesterday, in which he reportedly used an expletive to describe people who might immigrate from African countries. There has been, as you might imagine, sharp reaction. We were covering this event because of the sense of irony that many might see. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois was in that meeting and offered his account of what was said. We want to play that for you.
As Senator Graham made his presentation, the president interrupted him several times with questions, and in the course of his comments, said things which were hate-filled, vile, and racist. I use those words advisedly. I understand how powerful they are. But I cannot believe that in the history of the White House, in that Oval Office, any president has ever spoken the words that I personally heard our president speak yesterday.
Strong words from Senator Dick Durbin this morning in a gathering in the hallway there with reporters. I want to bring in NBC News correspondent Peter Alexander, as well as Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. Peter, first to you. The president put out a series of tweets today that seemed to suggest he didn't use that particular word that now has been widely quoted and I think we're all familiar with.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right, Lester. At best, you could describe this as a vague denial, saying that he didn't use the language that he's said to have used. You heard, though, from Dick Durbin, one of only 7 lawmakers who were in the room at the time. Here's one of the tweets the president posted today, saying, never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. Never said take them out. Made up by Dems. I have a wonderful relationship with Haitians. Probably should record future meetings. Unfortunately, no trust. Well, that has certainly not been enough to satisfy the leaders of African nations, not to mention some of the officials that represent Haiti. The ambassador of the United States from Haiti fiercely condemning the president's remarks, saying that he was not only misinformed, but basically that he is miseducated. This president facing fierce criticism, not just for this comment, Lester, but because it fits a wider pattern right now, dating back to what sort of birthed his entire political effort in life. The birtherism process, questioning the citizenship of Barack Obama, suggesting that he was born not in the United States, but in Kenya. Obviously, you know the controversy that surrounds the president's comments following the violence that took place in Charlottesville. And even on the first day of his campaign, as he launched it, he made comments critical of Mexican immigrants, saying that many of them were racist. The bottom line, the big picture here is this complicates this White House's effort to try to get an immigration deal. Just days ago, there appeared to be some warming between Republicans and Democrats, with a deadline now looming for those nearly 800,000 young undocumented immigrants or dreamers to try to come to some deal. This makes it a lot tougher for the White House because Democrats are less inclined to help out in any way. Lester.
All right, Peter, let me bring in Chuck right now. Chuck, how many times have we done this? Several weeks ago, we were talking about the Pocahontas remarks at a moment that was honoring Navajo code talkers. And now this. Will this be another case where 2 days from now this will be forgotten?
Well, look, on one hand, it's possible that, yes, you move on to another controversy or another story that he may do. But let's not pretend that he hasn't paid a price for his divisiveness. He is sitting at 35% job rating. You have Republicans, a record high of Republicans deciding not to run for re-election now that the calendar has flipped from 17 to 18, afraid of Donald Trump's brand costing them their own political career, so they'd rather decide their ending before the voters do. So, you know, it's sort of as a producer of mine said, you go bankrupt slowly. It's never quickly. It'll feel quick when it finally happens. But you can always look back and ask yourself, well, geez, how did we get here? Well, we got here over a slow period of time. And that's what, you know, it's not the comment is shocking only because we're shocked that a president has said it. The comment is not shocking when you say it's Donald Trump that said it, because look at what he has said on the record. Look what he has said, what he has confirmed that he has said on Twitter. So it is his history of this, and you could make an argument that the more disgusting thing he said was complaining that there aren't enough immigrants from Norway coming into this country, explicitly saying he views, almost looks at everything through the prism of race and color of someone's skin. So I think this is one of those things that, yes, it will quote unquote move on as a news cycle, but this continues to hurt the Republican Party long term, continues to erode the president's own ability to essentially be a moral authority in this country. I mean, we have a president of the United States, Lester, that has no moral authority in this country. That's striking, and we're only at not even at the end of year one.
It is striking and a strong statement. Chuck Todd, always appreciate your analysis. Thanks very much. As we said, there is a lot of fallout. There's a lot of reaction to the story. We'll be gathering out throughout the day. And, of course, full coverage and a full report tonight on NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt, NBC News.